So The Monkey came out and I liked it. And instead of doing some like normal review, I thought it would be a fun idea to just go through Letterboxd reviews and read them and sort of have a back and forth discussion, except they can't talk back to me. Just to see what the general populace is, because as of right now it has like 3-star rating, which isn't that high compared to Ozgood Perkins' last film. So I wanted to see what people have been saying and maybe add my rebuttal to why it's actually good. First, I'm going to take a look at the popular reviews, and once you sift through all the Robin Williams jokes, God. But once you sift through all the Robbie Williams jokes, you'll find some good critiques. Here we go. Saries says, dare I say, should have been gorier. I agree and disagree at the same time. I think the kills that are there are good, especially like the Final Destination-esque ones, like the swimming pool at the hotel. I thought that was great, but then I think too many of them involve just like instantaneously exploding, because then we get the other scene and the realtor is like going around the house, she opens the door, shotgun, and immediately explodes. And I think maybe we could have had more, I guess, slower, maybe more Saw Trap-esque kills where we really get to savor it a little more and get to... The gore goes on for longer, is what I'm saying, and to that point I agree, but I also disagree by just saying, I mean, hey, an explosion of blood, I can't be too mad at that. Sergio gives it 2.5 stars and says, pretty fun movie if you're 15 in 2016. I was not 15 in 2016, I was 14, and my mom would have not let me go see this movie, so I can't really speak on this. But I know where you're coming from. It's like, hey, this feels like a movie that should have been in 2016 because it's more crazy, quirky, ironic humor mixed with, it's just sort of the kills and wild stuff that could keep a child engaged. And if a young teenager has not seen that many horror movies or movies in general, they would watch this and go, whoa, that's crazy, and they've never seen the Human Centipede before, so they don't know what real gore is. I don't know. I haven't seen the Human Centipede myself. That's just there's way more gorier than movies than that. But I honestly take 2016 as a compliment, because if we look back, I think 2016 and 2019 were some of the most peak years in cinema history ever. Yes, I'm saying ever. Definitely of the 2010s, those are two of the best years. And for me, 2016 just encapsulates a really carefree world where we could express ourselves more and no one would laugh at us and say it was cringe. We were all sort of cringe back then. But now we live in a time of cynicism and we have to hate every piece of media that comes out. So I kind of think comparing this to the year 2016 is actually a compliment. Except for the one bad thing that happened in 2016. But it didn't go into effect until 2017. Okay, so... Seth gives it 1 star and says, the Cocaine Bear of 2025. And I mean that with the utmost disrespect. Miserable. I'm gonna push back on you, Seth. I can somewhat see the Cocaine Bear connection, and by that I mean not really. I feel like my problem with Cocaine Bear is that it does not deliver on what it promises, is that it's a bear on cocaine running around killing people. There's really one good scene of that happening, and the rest of the movie is humans pointing guns at each other. I'm like, okay, I'm not scared of someone shooting someone else and them dying. I want to see the bear kill them. But the monkey, it delivers on its promise, is that the monkey plays the drum and then people die in crazy ways, and that's what happens. Maybe you could have wanted more of that, and like I mentioned earlier, maybe various different ways than just people exploding sometimes. I think that's a valid critique. He called it miserable. I did not find it miserable. I found it funny. I laughed a few times. and just the sort of absurd nature of it all. I quite enjoyed. Maybe the Cocaine Bear connection is that they're both like sensationalist movies of like, people dying in crazy ways is the same sort of sensational as a bear on cocaine killing people. I don't know. Adam Scott set the tone for me in that first scene, and after that I sat back and enjoyed this deeply stupid and unserious movie. Complimentary. Ozgood Perkins, I'm sorry I hated Longlegs because this was a great time. Here we go. I'm more on the side of Jake here, if you couldn't tell. I thought it was fun, we needed a good horror comedy. I think the last really good one was, Abigail? And it's true, I think the first scene really does set the tone with Adam Scott and the flamethrower and the camera angle it zooms in on, and he's just really giving a really cheesy, campy performance as he's screaming with this flamethrower, and I think that sets the tone. It's campy. Calling it deeply stupid and unserious, sure, he does say it as a compliment, and he does specify that, but I'd say there is somewhat of a deeper meaning here. There is a message. It's about, generational trauma and passing down maybe some mental issues to your kids, and sort of that theming. I wouldn't call that stupid and unserious, but I think the context surrounding it can be seen as stupid and unserious. But I just replaced those words with camp because, yeah, that's what it's going for, is the unseriousness, the more lighthearted, crazy deaths. And this person said he hated Longlegs. I enjoyed Longlegs, so I don't know what to say there, but I'm glad he enjoyed this movie. Mariana gives an interesting 3-star review. They say, it's fine, it's fun, but it doesn't go far enough, in bold. And if you're going for a horror comedy about an evil wind-up monkey that's trying to comment on how inevitable and random death is, why wouldn't you go all out? Why not fully lean into the absurdity and cynicism? Is it too much to ask for the movie called The Monkey to actually go bananas? Points for the pun at the end. I enjoyed that. I see where this person is coming from. I agree that there could have been more, but I think we have to sit back and think, what more could we have wanted? What wasn't shown that we wanted to see? Is it crazier deaths? I guess more commentary about the randomness of death. I think we're kind of stuck in this catch-22 paradox for a second, where some of these reviews are saying that it didn't go absurd enough, and then other reviews were rating it low, saying it was too stupid and only stupid people would like this movie. So I think we're kind of stuck here. I did think it was absurd enough. I think if they cranked it any more, it might have gone into okay, you lost me territory, and it already lost so many people by how far it does go. And yeah, so my real problems with the movie aren't around the absurdism or the themes of the randomness or death and the cynicism. My real I like the absurdity. I like the themes. I just don't necessarily think the plot goes in a good direction to where those themes are woven through perfectly. I think that it could have had a better climax, or the villain could have had a better motive, and things like that, and the way the characters all interact and come together at the end could have been better. I think it's plot-wise my problems, but it seemed like these other people's reviews are more just complaining that it wasn't absurd enough or it was too absurd. I don't know. You let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. And a 3-star review, Theo writes, "Welcome back, Final Destination." I've mentioned Final Destination before, but I wanted to talk about this one specifically, and just to sort of compare the two. I think this movie and Final Destination are pretty separate, and I think that's a good thing. That Final Destination is about how you can't escape death, that death is going to come after you. People cheat death and then death comes after them. That's the premise. But in this movie, it's much more about hey, you can just die at any time in a really weird, random way. And I think maybe too many people are getting hung up about that, and not enough people are analyzing, again, the generational trauma aspect of the themes it really revolves around, the main theme is this dad being like, hey, with this monkey, the monkey is a metaphor for like mental illness. He's like, hey, this is pretty messed up, and I don't want my son to be involved with this at all. And so his option, he just basically leaves his son because he's like, I don't want my son connected to me, and I'm scared my son is going to have the same thing I have. But obviously the inevitability of that is, yeah, your son is going to have that with him, his life, and so might as well embrace it, accept that, and be in your son's life. And those are themes that Final Destination does not comment on at all. I have seen all of the Final Destination movies. I don't recall any of them being about generational trauma or mental health issues. So I think that's the one part where that kind of separates the two. And also, yes, in the pool scene, it is Final Destination. The shock goes into the pool and everything. Again, it's kind of, you're kind of stuck there, because if you don't do crazy Final Destination kills, then people are going to say the kills weren't crazy enough. And if you do crazy Final Destination kills, then everyone's going to say, oh, well, this is just a rip-off of Final Destination. So I'd rather it lean towards the Final Destination, because that's what makes it a horror comedy, and the absurdism, as mentioned before. Because there is a version of this movie that is just really sad, and like people dying in very realistic ways, and just, yeah, about the inevitability of death and happening at random times. And I don't know if I'd want to see that version. Sorry to scare you real quick. I just wanted to say, if you're enjoying the video, you can consider buying a channel membership. I don't do proper like movie reviews here on the main channel, but I do over on the membership page, where I'm covering every big and small movie of 2025. So if you're interested in any of the videos you see on screen, feel free to become a member. It is only 99 cents a month, the lowest YouTube would allow me to set it as. I want you to get the best deal possible, so if you're interested in supporting the channel and becoming a member, the link is in the description. Back to the video. Now we'll just end things off by looking at some of the recent reviews of this film. These are not popular ones that get a bunch of likes, so let's just see what the more common folk are thinking. Van says, I fear this is the second Perkins film that falls apart in the third act. I wanted to like it more so bad. 2 stars. Van, I sort of see where you're coming from, because as I've mentioned before, I also am not a big fan of the third act of this film. I think it could have gone crazier. I think maybe for budgetary reasons, we can't do the whole, actually watch the whole CGI world burn and planes crash and everything, and it has to be sort of contained in the one location that it's in. But I would have liked more of the philosophical arguments between the two twins and their reasoning for why to wind up the monkey and why not to wind the monkey, and more of that. And I do think the way that without spoilers, I kind of already spoiled a lot of it, but without spoilers, the final death of the film I think could have been more creative as well. And the pacing does feel off, because then by the time they reach the bad guy, you're like, oh wait, this is the end of the movie already? What? I guess maybe that's a good thing for the pacing, that it goes by fast, but at the same time, it was a little weird. Third act of Long Legs, I suppose you're talking about. No, I mean, I liked it. I liked the third act and the twist that happened, and I was on the edge of my seat during the third act of Long Legs, because you genuinely don't know how she's going to get out of this, and I very much would say that the third act of Long Legs is better than the third act of this film. Ron says 3 stars, it's giving Beau is Afraid but worse. So this was the one review I forgot to screenshot, and it took me an embarrassingly long time to find the review again, and when I found it, he added on this extra joke about Stephen King, so good for him that he liked it. Genuinely, I don't know what this means. I guess maybe like a man running around that's scared all the time, like he's afraid of dying from the monkey, or his son dying from the monkey. I really don't know the connection between Beau is Afraid and this movie, but I'm glad you liked Beau is Afraid if you gave it more than 3 stars, and you're saying this is worse than that. I really don't know what that means. And lastly, I think we'll end things off with Kayla's 3-star review. A dark comedy that isn't funny or scary. Which is a pretty harsh review if you're giving it 3 stars. I don't know. Everyone has their own different rating system. But I think, one, I did think it was funny. As I mentioned previously, I did laugh quite a few times. And 2, I do think parts of it is scary. I think the deaths themselves are not scary. More than anything, the kills just have shock value and aren't scary. But I would argue to say that the monkey itself is scary, the way that it's shot and the sound design behind it. And whenever it goes into the close-up of the monkey, like, I get scared. Like, I'm scared. The way that it was just shot, framed, lit, sounded, and the drums, the constant loud drums, I thought that was scary. I found the monkey scary, okay, I'll admit. I was scared of the monkey. Not so much scared of the deaths because, you know, it's just kind of funny in that way. So based on everything I've said, what do you think I gave the monkey out of 5? I did enjoy it. I found it funny. At the same time, I do acknowledge the problems around maybe some of the kills weren't as diverse as I wanted to. I think the plot itself does not do the best job of weaving in the themes too well, but overall I did enjoy the themes and what it was going for. Is it home run? Not exactly on landing those themes, but overall a really fun ride, quick, tight 90, and good performances. I didn't mention the performances at all, but I enjoyed all of them very much. Thank you for watching. If you liked this sort of style video, let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll do videos like this instead of standard reviews for movies that come out. And these are fun to make while I work on some bigger projects that are coming soon, so subscribe and stay tuned for those. And in the meantime, maybe watch this video about Letterboxd, I don't know.